Malachi Flynn is one of the better shooters in this year's NBA draft, and the Toronto Raptors picked him. Now, today we are going to be breaking down how Malachi Flynn shoots the basketball. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to be looking at is his feet. We're going to be going up from feet up to the head. And of course, the first thing that we really want to see is how is his footwork. Number one, his right foot is slightly in front of the left, which is good because, of course, he is a right-handed player. Next, his feet are roughly shoulder width apart, but does his shoulders line up with his knees, line up with his toes? They do not. They are almost in a Z-style angled formation, which is going to be really taking away his distance. If he was to bring his shoulders farther forward, he may be able to get farther distance, but I'm going to assume that that's going to just take maybe a few weeks. I can almost guarantee that by the time the season starts, that he is going to be bringing his shoulders forward because he's going to be draining a ton of shots from very far out. And we've seen this already when it comes to his college breakdown that I just recently did the other day. And what we really are going to be seeing is his shoulders really coming forward. That's going to give him a lot more power. But going from there, what else do we see? When he brings the ball from his gather position up to his set point, we want to see how much movement he has. And the least amount of movement that your body has, the least or lesser things that can go wrong with your shot. And what I mean by that is it's like a car. The more technology you have in a car, the more chances that car is going to be breaking down. And I don't mean this is going to be leading to injuries. What I'm talking about is when you start moving too many parts of your body, you are just now adding on more and more things that can then go wrong if a player was to hit you in the air. That's just one more piece of the puzzle that you need to put together to make your shot. So what we see here is, of course, he's going to be bringing and loading his legs, keeping the back straight. He brings the ball from his gather up to his set point, and when he does that, the elbow does not bend until that point there. That's when he starts to bend it, which is okay. You don't want to be starting to bend your elbow too early because now that's just adding an extra movement into your shooting form. Once you get it up into your set form, it's okay to bend your elbow back a little bit to get more power. Now, his set point seems to be roughly right above his right side of his forehead. He has a 45-degree angle or maybe a little bit more on his elbow. Now, when it comes to his elbow, if you have a 90-degree angle on your elbow, that's going to give you a faster release. If you have a 45-degree angle on your arm, that's going to give you a slower release by only milliseconds or hundredths of a second, but it will give you more power onto your shot. So that is kind of the trade-off at that point. We also do see a very good energy transfer from his toes up into his knees, up into his hips, and then into his back. Even though he is not using much of his back right there, that is, even though it's a small amount of energy transfer into his back, he is then able to transfer that into his shoulders, into his arms, and then into his shot. Now, when it comes to his release, we do notice that he does have a bit of a thumb flick, which is okay. We do see some players like Kyrie Irving as well as Steph Curry that do have a thumb flick, but theirs is a little bit more pronounced than this one, and it doesn't affect their shot at all. And in fact, once we get the shot from him over in this corner, we're going to be able to look at if his elbow, shoulder, and hands and ball are in line. But we're going to be looking at that later. Right now, we should be looking at his shoulders. And what we do see is that his shoulders are pretty well squared up towards the basket. We also see that his hips are also squared up to the basket. And then we can move down and look at his knees. His knees seem to be pretty well squared towards the basket. But it really does seem like that left knee seems to be giving a lot more power, or his left leg seems to be giving a lot more power than his right. This could be due to an injury that might have happened back when he was in high school or college. So that is something to keep an eye on, but that doesn't affect his shot considering he shoots at a massive 37% in the NCAA. When he does release that ball, the elbow is above the forehead and above the eyes. That's going to give arc onto the basketball, and when you've got arc on the ball, that's going to allow the rim to look bigger to the basketball, which will allow the basketball to drop in a lot better. And then he keeps his arm up there until he lands, and then he brings it down. Now, when we really do zoom into his form from the front, what we do see is that his right foot is slightly angled away from the rim, and we also do see that that ball is right in front of his right eye, and that means that the ball is not in line with his elbow. So, even though his shoulder and elbow are in line with the basketball net, the ball and the elbow are not. And what that is going to do for most players is push the ball out towards the left side. And when that happens, what you're going to see with a lot of players is when they create a thumb flick. That is why we see a thumb flick when it comes to Malachi Flynn, because he is now trying to compensate for the fact that he brings that ball in front of his right eye, which doesn't allow it to line up with the elbow. He creates a thumb flick, which allows it to be a very accurate 37% three-point shot. And now when we look at it in a little bit faster speed, we see that he does have that thumb flick, a nice flick on that wrist, and it's a nice swish. That was a very, very good shot. If you're looking to improve your shooting form, and you have the ball always consistently going out towards the left side, it could be because the ball is not lined up with your elbow, like we see here, and there's a few ways you can fix that. You can either bring that ball over top of the elbow, and now it's in line, or you can develop a thumb flick. Historically, a thumb flick will have a lot more issues of inconsistencies with your shot, so keep that in mind. However, we do see some of the best players in the NBA who do have a thumb flick. Now, I hope that this video has helped you understand Malachi Flynn a little bit more, get to be a little bit more of a fan of his, but also help you be able to shoot the basketball better. If it has, hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again next time. Go Raptors.